My name is Linda Larson. I am with the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, and we're delighted to welcome you all here today for the ClimateWorks Pre-Apprenticeship Program Bidders Conference. As you all have seen, the Notice of Funding Opportunity for this program was released last week, and we're very excited to present some of the information about this program and how to apply for you today. Today we're going to be covering 5 general topics. First of all, I'm going to start with an overview of the Climate and Equitable Jobs Act workforce programs. The ClimateWorks Pre-Apprenticeship Program is one of several CEJA workforce programs. We'll be talking about some of the other ones just briefly so you can have a context for the variety of workforce programs that DCEO will be implementing soon. And so that you can think about whether your organization would like to apply for this program or for a different workforce program. Next, I'll be addressing some of the Illinois workforce priorities and how the pre-apprenticeship program that we're going to be talking about today aligns with those workforce priorities. Item number 3 will be the bulk of our presentation today. I'll be covering some of the program requirements, some of the main elements of the pre-apprenticeship program. So if you're considering applying to deliver this program, this will be important information for you. Next, we'll talk about building your team and eligibility, discussing if you are eligible to apply for funding to deliver this program. And finally, our last topic will be information about how to apply, how to submit that application, and how your application will be reviewed. We are recording this session, and we will be sharing it on the Notice of Funding Opportunity website. So if you don't catch everything today, feel free to return to the website and we'll share the recording with all of you. So starting with the background, what is the Climate and Equitable Jobs Act? CEJA is a comprehensive energy legislation to equitably accelerate the adoption of renewable energy generation, electrification, electric vehicles, and energy efficiency. Some of the CEJA investments that are part of this large piece of legislation include increases in support for renewable energy. The goal is to reach 40% renewable energy by 2030 in the state of Illinois and 50% by 2040. CEJA supports a carbon-free power grid by 2045 and establishes funding to help us move towards that goal. It expands solar incentive programs. It extends energy efficiency programs and bolsters low-income requirements for those programs. It enables electric utilities to incorporate electrification into energy efficiency programs. It supports communities transitioning away from coal and supports electric vehicle transition in Illinois through rebates and building electric vehicle infrastructure. So through these lofty goals, Illinois recognizes that we need workforce to do all of that work. So Illinois is investing in clean energy sources, electric vehicles, electrification, and energy efficiency. We need to expand the clean energy workforce to do the work. Historically, the investments in clean energy and clean energy jobs have not benefited all communities and populations. So one of the major goals of the CEJA workforce programs is to make sure that the benefits of clean energy investments and good paying jobs are distributed equitably throughout Illinois. The overall goals of the CEJA workforce program programs that DCEO is administering are to equitably grow the clean energy workforce to meet the demand for clean energy workers, to prepare people for well-paying clean energy jobs and careers, and to increase employment opportunities in the clean energy workforce for equity-eligible individuals and communities. And I'll be defining equity-eligible individuals and communities later in the presentation today. So there are 4 programs that DCEO will be launching as part of this CEJA workforce ecosystem. And today we are talking about just one of those programs, but I wanted to introduce all 4 so that organizations on this call and employers and other stakeholders can consider participating in the other programs as well. So the one we're talking about today is the Climate Works Pre-apprenticeship program. There's also a Clean Jobs Workforce Network program, a Returning Resident Clean Jobs Training program, and an Energy Transition Navigator program. The goal of all of these programs is to train people for jobs or apprenticeships. So clean energy employers throughout Illinois will select or hire apprenticeships or entry-level workers, and then the goal is to be able to do the clean energy projects that are funded by CEJA and other state and federal sources. All right, a little bit of detail about each of these programs. The Climate Works Pre-apprenticeship program, which we'll be talking about today, is going to be offered in 3 regional hubs. They'll be delivering pre-apprenticeship training with the goal to prepare people for registered apprenticeships. This training will consist of basic construction training with a clean energy focus, and energy transition barrier reduction services, which is essentially wraparound services, will be included in this program. The Clean Jobs Workforce Network program, which will be the notice of funding opportunity for this program will be released later in the spring. For this program, 13 hubs will deliver clean jobs training at locations throughout the state. The goal will be to prepare people for entry-level clean energy jobs. It will utilize a standard clean energy curriculum developed by DCEO through broad stakeholder feedback. And it also includes barrier reduction services in the program design. The 2 other programs that DCEO will be implementing and releasing notice of funding opportunities for soon are the Energy Transition Navigator program and the Returning Resident Clean Jobs Training program. The Energy Transition Navigator program is primarily for helping to recruit participants. They will conduct education and outreach to draw people into the CEJA workforce programs. They'll focus on building connections in communities and with employers. The Returning Resident Clean Jobs Training program will be utilizing a clean jobs curriculum in Department of Correction, Illinois Department of Correction facilities. We'll be talking about transition support for people who are released and connecting them to entry-level clean energy jobs when they complete the program and are released. So there's $67 million per year of funding across all of these CEJA workforce programs. This is an exciting initiative, a lot of funding to really grow the clean energy workforce across Illinois. The Climate Works Pre-apprenticeship program that we are focusing on today represents $10 million in funding per year, plus an additional $6 million for barrier reduction services. And there will be up to 3 awards. You can see here that there's $24 million for the Clean Jobs Workforce Network program, $6 million for the Energy Transition Navigator program, and $6 million for the Returning Resident Clean Jobs Training program. So one of the things that I'd like to emphasize today is that there's a lot of different CEJA workforce programs, and your organization may be better suited to deliver one or more of these programs. So I wanted to start with just a brief overview of how we see different organizations' strengths aligning with specific programs. If your organization has experience delivering construction and skills training, if they have strong ties to target communities and populations in the region, and if you have strong ties to registered apprenticeship programs, again, the goal of this program is to help prepare people for apprenticeship programs, then you may want to consider applying for the Climate Works pre-apprenticeship program. If your organization has experience providing employment, skill development, and related services, strong connections to target communities and populations in your region, and strong connections to clean energy employers, then you may want to consider applying for funding to deliver the Clean Jobs Workforce Network program, and that notice of funding opportunity will be released this spring. Your organization may not have as much training or employment assistance experience, but have experience providing wraparound supports and referrals. We need organizations that can provide the barrier reduction services for these different programs. If your organization has the ability to meet people's needs quickly and efficiently, and if you have strong ties to target communities and populations, then you may want to consider applying as part of a team to deliver the barrier reduction services for these two programs. Because the barrier reduction services are embedded into these programs, you could apply as part of a team to deliver these services. If your organization has extensive experience providing outreach and engagement and recruiting people for programs, if you have strong connections to target communities and populations, relationships with workforce agencies and community organizations in your region, and the ability to provide career navigation support, you may want to consider applying for the Energy Transition Navigator program. This cross-cutting program will be assisting the other CEJA workforce programs in recruiting participants and supporting them in finding employment. And finally, if your organization has experience providing employment, skill development, or related services to committed persons or justice-involved persons, and the ability to help returning residents find employment, then you may consider applying for the Returning Resident Clean Jobs Training Program. So in short, we've released one of the 4 workforce programs. We'll be releasing other programs soon, but you may want to consider which of the programs your organization is best suited to apply for. I know many organizations are considering both the pre-apprenticeship program and the Clean Jobs Workforce Network program. We've developed this chart to kind of highlight a few of the key differences. First of all, there's a difference in locations. The Clean Jobs Workforce Network program is going to be offered in 13 hubs across the region, where the Climate Works pre-apprenticeship program will be delivered at 3 regional centers and locations throughout those regions. The funding is different. There's, since there are more hubs, there's more funding, $24 million in funding per year compared to $10 million, in addition to the barrier reduction services. A larger number of awards for the network hubs compared to the Climate Works pre-apprenticeship. The goals are different. So the Clean Jobs Workforce Network program is really directed to preparing people for entry-level clean energy jobs, whereas the Climate Works pre-apprenticeship program is focused on preparing people to be successful in apprenticeships. The curriculum will be different. Whereas the Clean Jobs Workforce Network program is using a standard Clean Jobs curriculum, which we'll talk about when we introduce that program. The Climate Works pre-apprenticeship program is really focused on construction basics. And then finally, there's some differences in the employer network. The employer networks that these two programs need. The Clean Jobs Workforce Network program will be focusing on coordinating with clean energy networks and workplace learning and job placement, whereas the Climate Works Pre-apprenticeship program will be coordinating with registered apprenticeship programs and contractors to facilitate enrollment. Just a couple questions that have come in about applying for funding. Some organizations may not feel they have the experience or the expertise required to deliver all of the tasks for these programs. We are encouraging partnerships. So we hope that that organizations will consider partnering up to deliver each of these programs and leveraging the unique skills and strengths of different organizations and training providers in the region. Can your organization apply to deliver more than one CJA program? The answer is yes, but it is discouraged. We want you to please consider capacity if you are selected for more than one program. These are large funding amounts, and we would like to spread out the funding for multiple organizations. Just so you can get a general sense of the timeline, and these are estimates. The Climate Pre-apprenticeship program is going to be released now. The Energy Transition Navigator program will be coming soon, followed by the Clean Jobs Workforce Network program, and then finally the Returning Resident Clean Jobs program. No matter what workforce program your organization is interested in applying for, there's going to need, we're going to need close coordination among all of these training programs. We're considering this an ecosystem, and and each of the programs will be dependent on the others for information, for referrals, and for communication. All right. Moving on from that basic overview of the CJA workforce programs, next we're going to talk a little bit about the Illinois workforce priorities and how the Climate Works Pre-apprenticeship program aligns with these workforce priorities. First, the governor's action agenda for workforce development and job creation lists 5 main focus areas. The first one is to unite workforce development partners around regional cluster strategies. And the CJA workforce programs are regionally organized in clusters. The second priority is to prepare Illinois workers for a career, not just their next job. The pre-apprenticeship program will be helping to prepare people for clean energy careers in the building and construction trades. The Climate Works Pre-apprenticeship program establishes and supports equity goals, and we'll be talking a little bit about how it does that. It emphasizes strong connections with employers and with registered apprenticeship programs, and it integrates workforce services across program providers. The pre-apprenticeship program also aligns with Illinois Workforce Innovation Board apprenticeship goals. Their goals are to fully integrate apprenticeships into state workforce development, education, and economic development strategies and programs, to support rapid development of new apprenticeship programs and expand existing programs, to support the development and recruitment of a diverse pipeline of apprentices, and to build state capacity to make it easier for the industry to start apprenticeship programs and for apprentices to access opportunities. So why the focus on apprenticeships? Apprenticeships are a proven way to train the construction workforce. Some of the benefits of apprenticeships are that employers have access to well-trained workers. Apprenticeships reduce worker turnover and build loyalty. Employees can benefit from skill gains and income throughout the training period. It offers workers a way to start new careers with good wages. And finally, apprenticeships help match employers to employees to determine if it's a good fit. However, for many, apprenticeships are out of reach. And we'll be talking about equity investment eligible communities and individuals, but we know that apprenticeships are they're largely male dominated and not as diverse as they could be. So construction apprentices in Illinois, 4.1% are female, 19.7% are non-white. Installation, maintenance, and repair apprentices in Illinois, 5.8% are female, 25.6% are non-white. And this is compared to the general population of 50% female, 35.4% non-white. Pre-apprenticeship programs are seen as a possible solution to the accessibility problem. How can we make apprenticeships more accessible to people throughout Illinois? Pre-apprenticeship programs typically target equity-focused populations and equity-eligible communities. They prepare participants to enter and succeed in apprenticeships. They provide access to educational and career counseling and other supportive services and tutoring. They offer hands-on, meaningful learning activities, and they provide support for people who are applying to and transitioning into an apprenticeship program. And Illinois, one of Illinois' workforce priorities is to increase pre-apprenticeship programs. And this program is part of that effort. Some of the core pre-apprenticeship elements that this program seeks to implement are inclusive recruitment strategies, industry-focused construction curriculum and training, hands-on learning and work-based learning, retention services for successful participation, partnerships with apprenticeship programs and employers, and credential acquisition. So that's pre-apprenticeship programs generally and how they fit into Illinois workforce priorities. And now I'll be moving into the specific program requirements for the ClimateWorks pre-apprenticeship program and some of the key elements so that your organization can decide if this is something that you would like to apply for or partner with an organization to apply for. The main goals of the ClimateWorks pre-apprenticeship program are to, similar to the overall CEJA workforce goals, to equitably grow the construction and building trades to meet the demand for clean energy workers. Second, to prepare people to succeed in apprenticeships and to increase employment opportunities in the clean energy workforce for equity eligible individuals and communities. So first of all, the need for more apprenticeships, for more workers in the construction and building trades. Because of state and federal investments in clean energy, including the CEJA investments I mentioned earlier, the construction and building trades are expected to grow. Here's just a few of the construction and building trades that are going to see an increase due to growth in renewable energy and energy efficiency in electric vehicles and electrification. So electrician is going to be, there's a great need for growth in electricians to meet the demand, heat and frost insulator, iron worker, carpenter, laborer, roofer, plumber, pipe fitter, industrial maintenance mechanic, sheet metal worker, HVAC installer, and service technician. These are a few of the construction and building trades that are expected to grow. And the Climate Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program is intended to help lead people into those careers through an apprenticeship program. This slide shows some of the main elements of the Climate Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program from a high level, and we'll be talking about each of these elements in more depth. First, the Climate Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program will be coordinating with energy transition navigators to recruit, pre-screen, and support participants through the application process. They'll be providing pre-apprenticeship training with a construction focus, free of charge, with a stipend. They'll be providing wraparound supports and services to remove participation barriers. They'll provide information about clean energy job opportunities in construction and the building trades. And they'll finally be connecting participants to apprenticeship programs and providing transition support as they begin those apprenticeships. Where will the pre-apprenticeship program be offered? This notice of funding opportunity calls for 3 regional Climate Works pre-apprenticeship centers, and it uses Illinois Department of Transportation regions for the locations of these centers. The first center is expected to be in IDOT Region 1. The second center in IDOT regions 2 and 3, and the third center in IDOT regions 4 and 5. Now, when I say center, it doesn't necessarily mean that the training will be offered in a single location. Applicant teams are encouraged to offer training in more than one location in the region to improve accessibility. These are large regions, so an applicant team could propose to offer training in several locations throughout the region. The annual funding that's available for the Climate Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program is $10 million for the program delivery, plus an additional $6 million for barrier reduction services, for a total of $16 million in annual funding. DCEO expects to make up to 3 awards. An applicant can propose to deliver more than one of the pre-apprenticeship centers. So the amount per award will be up to $6.5 million per year for each of the 3 regional centers. Applicants will be selected for 3 years, subject to annual review. And we recommend that as applicants are preparing their proposal, that they estimate a program cost per participant of $10,000, and that does not include barrier reduction services. So who can participate? Who's eligible to receive training through the Climate Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program? Equity eligible individuals are able to participate, and the legislation defines these individuals as people living in equity investment eligible communities. These are environmental justice communities or R3 communities, and the notice of funding opportunity provides links to those communities, so you can take a look at where they are in your region. People who have been incarcerated, or graduates or foster care system members are also eligible to participate, regardless of whether they are in one of these equity investment eligible communities. I'm going to interrupt myself for a minute and say I forgot to mention that we do have chat monitors that are happy to answer questions, but we also hope that you will post questions at the NOFO, the Notice of Funding Opportunity website, and we'll put the link to that there. We'll be posting answers to those questions. So if you have questions as I'm going along, feel free to add them to that website. And we will respond and make those answers publicly available. All right. So other participant eligibility requirements, uh, participants must be at least 16 years old. They must be an Illinois resident. They must have a high school diploma or equivalent, or, and we'll talk about a little bit what this means in a minute, or be in a program that is preparing them for one. And they must have a desire to pursue a career in construction or the building trades. So applicant teams have the option to develop programs that are youth focused, and by youth we mean typically 18 to 24, or adult focused. If the program is youth focused, the participants need to be working towards a high school diploma or equivalent, so they could be enrolled in a separate program. Or the program can integrate career training with academic preparation. So the ICAPS model is an example of this. Applicants can also propose an adult focused program where participants already have a high school diploma or equivalent. If they do not have a high school diploma or equivalent, the program can propose to integrate career training with academic preparation, where they would be preparing to receive their diploma or equivalent. And the reason why we emphasize getting a diploma or a GED or equivalent is that most apprenticeship programs require a diploma or equivalent. So to be able to succeed in this program, they will need to have that opportunity to have that diploma or equivalent. There are three key program delivery elements that we'd like to emphasize for the ClimateWorks pre-apprenticeship program. First, flexible instruction, flexible instructional delivery to improve accessibility. Second, equity-focused program culture. And third, strong coordination and handoff. So what does this look like? When we met with stakeholders in the fall of 2022, we heard a lot of them say that flexible instructional delivery really improves accessibility for equity-focused populations. You have the option to propose a lot of different program delivery methods and approaches. These are just a few that you might consider. You could offer on-demand instruction rather than specific cohorts, where there's more of an open entry and an exit model. You could provide options that are virtual and face-to-face for some of the training. You could offer part-time instruction if some participants are not able to attend full-time. You might offer modular programming to avoid redundant training for participants who already have certain qualifications. You might offer alternative testing approaches to demonstrate mastery. Again, the goal of offering flexible delivery options is to increase that accessibility for program participants. This program also strongly emphasizes coordination and warm handoffs. Obviously, we talked a little bit earlier about the need to coordinate with the other CEJA workforce programs. The other really important coordination piece is your coordination with apprenticeship programs. Again, the goal is to help people succeed in apprenticeship programs. So we are looking for strong relationships and coordination with those apprenticeship programs. To recruit and support participants, you'll also need to demonstrate that you have connections with and that you can coordinate with workforce innovation areas, Illinois Works pre-apprenticeship program, apprenticeship navigators, industry contractors, building trades, and support services to provide a holistic training program. And then finally, what does it mean to build an equity-focused program culture? This is more than just meeting numeric participant targets to reach the equity-focused populations that I introduced earlier. What does this mean? This might include working to eliminate and reduce barriers through those barrier reduction services and funds, building a community of collaboration, empowering the participants for resilience and success, setting goals and measures and outcomes, and then collecting data and adjusting program design as needed. And then finally, creating a culture of belonging that celebrates differences. So those are 3 of the overall program design elements that we're looking for. This little graph here shows some of the different program delivery elements that will need to be included in the program that you deliver. So the green elements here, outreach and recruitment, application and intake, those are the pre-training services that you'll need to provide. The orange boxes here, wraparound supports and stipends and student support services need to be offered throughout the training program. How can you help remove barriers to participation and promote success? The blue boxes are the training program elements themselves, the delivery of employability skills, the construction curriculum that you'll be teaching, and the work-based learning elements. And then finally, throughout the program, you'll be tracking your outcomes and assessing those outcomes and reporting to DCEO about those outcomes. And then when students finish up the program, you will be assisting them with connections to an apprenticeship program and providing follow-up support. So I'm going to go over each of these program elements in a little bit of detail, and I would strongly encourage you to go to the Notice of Funding opportunity for more information about each of these different elements. First of all, outreach and recruitment. The outreach and recruitment will be administered in coordination with the CEJA Energy Transition Navigator Program. The Notice of Funding opportunity for this program has not been released yet, but it will be released soon. We're expecting you to explain, provide some high-level understanding of how you'll be coordinating with this program. What are the proactive, inclusive, and equitable recruitment and outreach strategies that you could include in your training program? We're interested in hearing your ideas for those outreach and recruitment strategies to make sure that they are inclusive and that they are reaching the equity focused populations outlined in the Notice of Funding opportunity. We want to see we want to see that your applicant team has knowledge and experience working with the target populations, and that you have the ability to help applicants make informed decisions about their participation. This may include acknowledging some of the disparities in construction and building trades that I addressed earlier, the gender and racial disparities in the construction and building trades, and then helping them make informed decisions about their participation. Application and intake will consist of a pre-screen assessment, an application and interview to review potential participants' eligibility. It will consist of a needs assessment to determine the wraparound supports that are necessary for participant success. And then finally, plans to refer students who don't meet minimum requirements to other services in the community or to other programs that they may be more interested in. Throughout the program, there will be, your team will be providing wraparound supports and stipends to eliminate barriers to participation. And the Notice of Funding opportunity lists some of the allowable wraparound supports and stipends that are part of this program. These will include transportation costs, childcare costs, technical assistance, driver's education fees, health care costs, emergency bill payments, referrals for other services, mentoring, alumni networks, financial literacy, really anything that is posing a barrier to participant success. In addition to those wraparound supports, we want the pre-apprenticeship centers to also offer student support services to maximize participant success. This could include tutoring, retesting, makeup sessions, mentoring, educational enrichment activities, coaching, innovative teaching and learning tools, and immersive training and learning techniques. The curriculum itself will consist of robust construction training that utilizes either the NAB2 Multi-Craft Core Curriculum or the NCCER Core Curriculum. Those are both standard pre-apprenticeship construction training that cover the basics of how to use hand and power tools, how to manage materials, construction math, some of the other construction processes that students will need to know. We are requesting that applicants provide a clean energy focus to their construction training, and applicants have the freedom to propose different clean energy elements that will be added to this construction training. This could include an introduction to clean energy careers. It could include some building energy efficiency basics or electrical basics. It could include some renewable energy, solar installation basics, for instance, and additional certifications if applicable. Safety training is a core element of the pre-apprenticeship program curriculum. At a minimum, it should include OSHA 10, first aid, CPR, and there is flexibility to not offer it if it's covered in the apprenticeship program that students will be leading into. And then finally, the pre-apprenticeship program will be offering employability skills training utilizing the Illinois Essential Employability Skills Framework. And there's a link to that in the Notice of Funding Opportunity. This curriculum also focuses on workplace relationships and construction and trades from a gender and person of color lens. In addition to the basic curriculum here, we're requiring that at least 10 of the curriculum hours be work-based learning. And the Notice of Funding Opportunity again defines what that means, but some of the different work-based learning that you could offer include construction work at job sites, job site practicums, or job site visits and tours of registered apprenticeship programs. And I want to note that your application will require partnerships with contractors, government entities, or community-based organizations to develop this work-based learning requirement. And then after students graduate from the program, the final element here is transition and follow-up support. So we want to see evidence of formal partnerships with registered apprenticeship programs, labor unions, industry trade groups, and contractors. So this could include matriculation agreements with registered apprenticeship programs, letters from signatory contractors agreeing to hire apprentices, and then you must have plans to help transition students to these programs and provide continued follow-up support and guidance after placement. So what apprenticeships are you connected to? There's a variety of different registered apprenticeships in Illinois. These are a few that I showed earlier that have needs in the clean energy sector, that have growth needs in the clean energy sector. So you may consider which regional apprenticeship programs are offered in your area and connect with those apprenticeship programs in your area to help direct people to those programs to offer to potentially offer work-based learning opportunities. And these apprenticeship programs may also provide suggestions for how to deliver your curriculum to prepare people for clean energy jobs. There's data tracking program requirements and outcome assessment requirements that are associated with the ClimateWorks pre-apprenticeship program. You'll be collecting demographic information for program participants. You'll be collecting data on the number of individuals that have been accepted and placed into apprenticeship programs, the number of individuals who remain in those apprenticeship programs, and advance to journeyman, the individuals who are placed into jobs or other training programs, and then in addition to this data collection and outcomes collection, you'll also be conducting assessments to improve program delivery. These could include surveys of employers or program graduates. So program outcomes, as I've been emphasizing throughout this presentation, the primary outcome is to place participants in registered apprenticeship programs. And they must be Department of Labor registered apprenticeship program. The link I've put on this slide is the Department of Labor's apprenticeship job finder, and it has a list of some of the apprenticeship programs in the region. We want these apprenticeship programs to be in the construction and building trades, particularly those that are expected to see clean energy job growth. We know that not all applicants may wish to or be able to advance into apprenticeship programs after they complete the program. There's also a secondary program outcome, which is placement in a college program or other training program, or acceptance into a position with an employer. So that's also a successful program outcome. We want to see people placed in jobs and alternative training programs as well. The pre-apprenticeship training program will utilize a performance-based payment model that is 25% based on the number of enrollments into your program. 30% will be based on the completions. 35% will be based on transitions into those primary and secondary outcomes, and then 10% will be from closeout reports. This program will require real-time reporting, and there will be monthly disbursements based on this performance-based model. All right, moving on. Eligibility and building your team. So are you eligible? Is your organization eligible to apply for this funding opportunity? Eligible or applicants include organizations that provide employment, skill development, or related services to members of the target communities in your region. They're organizations that can demonstrate relationships with local residents and organizations serving those communities. They must have a history of serving low-wage or low-skilled workers from economically disadvantaged communities within the proposed regions, and they need to be able to demonstrate relationships with construction and building trade apprenticeship programs, with industry contractors in those trades, and with contractor associations. And I want to emphasize that applicants We're encouraging applicants to be teams, so not everyone, not a single organization may not be able to demonstrate all of these requirements, but as part of a team, they should be able to demonstrate all of them. Priority will be given to teams that can collectively demonstrate, again, an ability to effectively serve diverse and underrepresented populations. They need to have agreements with registered apprenticeship programs that have an agreement with NABTU to utilize the construction curriculum to recruit, pre-screen, and provide training. They need to have the capacity to provide support services and ongoing engagement during the transition period, and have the capacity to operate satellite training locations to increase accessibility throughout the region. And as you're building your team, I'd encourage you to think about whether your team collectively can deliver all of these program elements that we previously talked about. So outreach and recruitment, application and intake, the wraparound supports and student supports, the delivery of the curriculum components, data tracking, transition and follow-up support. So this is another way of looking at some of those delivery elements here. How will you deliver the program elements and coordinate with partners for delivery of all of these different elements? So a single organization can apply to deliver all of these elements, or you can form agreements with other organizations to provide these different elements. So in this model here, we have a main grantee that's focused on recruitment, admin tasks, wraparound services, and transition services. We have a training provider in yellow that's providing some of the curriculum, the safety basics and construction skills and certification support. We have a community-based organization that's focused on some of those wraparound supports and employability skills. And then the Energy Transition Navigator will be helping with the recruitment and apprenticeship placement. I want to note that the team members that deliver energy transition barrier reduction services, this is these services, the wraparound supports in the surrounding circle there, they need to be eligible to deliver those services. The organizations need to be community-based providers that have the ability to effectively serve diverse and underrepresented populations in the proposed region, have the capacity to provide individualized support services and deliver funds in an efficient and timely manner. They need strong connections to other community-based organizations and local agencies for referrals and warm handoffs, and they need strong connections to equity investment eligible communities. So here's an example of how you might build your team. And of course, this is just one example. There's a lot of ways that you might organize a team. But here I've on the left, I've put a list of those main program tasks. This middle column is a potential organization's capacity, a potential applicant's capacity, and then a partner that you're considering to apply for this funding opportunity. So for outreach and recruitment, for instance, I've written down that this organization needs some help. They're partnering with the Energy Transition Navigators program to do the outreach and recruitment. Maybe they've got the application and intake covered, but they're not able to provide wraparound supports and stipends. They find a community-based organization in the region that's really excellent at providing those services and connecting with equity investment eligible communities to provide those services. Maybe they're skilled at providing construction and clean energy training. They've got that covered, but they need some help in providing the training for employability skills. So they partner again with a community-based organization to provide that training. Most organizations will need to partner with employers, contractors, or apprenticeship programs to provide that work-based learning element. Again, at least 10 hours of the curriculum needs to be part of that work-based learning element. And then finally, transition and follow-up services. Maybe you need some help from apprenticeship programs and employers for some of those transition and follow-up services. Maybe your team has the ability to track program outcomes and do the assessment piece. Again, this is just a tool you could use to build your team depending on the strengths and weaknesses of the organizations in your region. Here's another example of what this might look like using an org chart. So you might have a main applicant, the main recipient or grantee. They might have a partner, a community-based organization that provides, again, that wraparound services and employability skills. Maybe they're contracting with an employer to provide this 10 hours of work-based learning and a contractor to provide 10 hours of OSHA 10 training. And then they might also partner with other employers or organizations that aren't necessarily receiving program funds from this notice of funding opportunity, but are helping out. So employers and apprenticeships, they agree to hire and accept students from your program. Energy transition navigators are helping with recruitment, but are funded through a separate notice of funding opportunity. I want to note that partnerships should be reciprocal. So when you're reaching out to employers or contractors to provide these training and work-based learning opportunities, it's important to discuss the compensation and their needs to provide that. All right, so formalizing the partnerships. In meeting with the different organizations that you're considering partnering with, you'll want to determine the scope of work and the tasks that each organization or team member will do. You'll want to create a memorandum of understanding, and we'll be talking about that a little bit more in our next sessions. You'll want to create a staffing plan. How are you going to staff the different needs, the different program elements for the pre-apprenticeship program? You'll need to collect resumes of key staff and create a budget for any of the partners. All right, moving on to application and submission information. So I've provided an overview of the different program requirements and some suggestions of how you might build your team and some information about whether you're eligible to apply. Next, we'll just be covering some of the basics of how you apply, some of the materials you'll want to access to put together a proposal. I would strongly recommend, if you haven't already, to get to know the Notice of Funding Opportunity webpage for this funding opportunity. We'll have the link in the chat and you can go to it, but this is where you have information about the program background and the design. It has a link to a frequently asked questions page to submit questions, and we'll be posting responses to those questions over the next few weeks. It provides information about funding and submission details. It includes links to all of the notice of funding materials, the actual NOFO document, the templates, the budget template, the work plans, and other application materials. It includes resources to help you put together an effective proposal. It includes a notice of intent to apply, an award timeline, and links to register for more information sessions and workshops. The overall timeline is as follows. So we're here. We've just finished the bidders conference on May 3rd. We'll be delivering a workshop on writing an effective proposal. We'd encourage you to click on this NOFO webpage and register for that workshop. On May 5th, we'll be delivering a workshop that covers GATA training. And on May 9th, we'll be delivering a special technical workshop for first-time applicants. And by first-time applicants, I mean organizations that have not submitted funding, that have not applied for funding for other DCEO workforce programs, that may be a little bit newer to the workforce program arena. We're interested in both experienced and new applicants, and we want to provide support for those new applicants. And then May 12th is the deadline for when we are asking people to submit notice of intent to apply. This is a very simple process. It's simply you're letting us know that you intend to apply by writing the name of your organization and some contact information. This doesn't mean that you're committing to apply. You don't have to submit this, but this will help us determine how many applications we're going to get so that we can prepare, so that DCEO can select a review committee and be prepared for reviewing all of the applications. And then finally, the proposals are due on June 2nd at 5 p.m. The application process, there's a lot of different components. I'd encourage you again to go back to that website, take a good look at the actual NOFO. Here's some of the different elements, the submission documents that you're going to get ready. First of all, there's a uniform grant application. It's a fillable PDF format. It's pretty simple. There's a uniform budget that utilizes a template provided by DCEO, and we'll be walking through that budget in our workshops. There's a conflict of interest disclosure and a mandatory disclosure. And then the executive summary and technical proposal is where you get to tell us what you're proposing. You get to explain your program design, all of the elements, how you're going to deliver it, how your team is capable and qualified to deliver this program. And then there's a number of attachments, additional documents that help us determine how you're going to be delivering your program. And those include a work plan. There's a template, a worksheet that you're going to be using, a demographics and outcomes summary, a proposed curriculum. Again, there's a template that you'll be using, and a staffing plan that includes resumes and memorandums of understanding. So all applicants must register in the Grant Accountability and Transparency Act grantee portal. And if this is new to you, I would strongly encourage you to attend a webinar on May 5th to learn about GATA requirements and how to register. You'll need to get started on this soon because it takes a few weeks to get through the system. And once you're through the system, you are eligible to apply. Here's just a quick look at some of those documents that I was describing earlier. This is the uniform application for state grant assistance. This is the uniform budget template. There's a conflict of interest disclosure, a mandatory disclosure, and then the bulk of your work will be on this executive summary and technical proposal. We've put recommended page lengths for the different sections of these proposals. The technical proposal will include a section on your team's capacity and qualifications, a section on the documentation of need, your project plan, what are you proposing, and then a budget narrative. And then here's a few of those attachments that will be in addition to that technical proposal. So there's a work plan where you list some of those outcome metrics. There's a participant demographics and outcome summary, a sample and proposed curriculum, and a staffing plan. And in addition to filling out this template, you'll be submitting resumes of key staff, memorandums of agreement, of understanding from team partners and contractors or vendors, and MOUs from registered apprenticeship programs to facilitate that transition into those programs. So how will proposals be scored? DCEO will be using a merit-based review process, and this is all in the notice of funding opportunity. You can read more about it here. But the 4 basic criteria we're going to be using are applicant team qualifications and capacity, documentation of need, project quality and integration, and cost effectiveness. And in the notice of funding opportunity, you'll see a big table that describes all of the different elements that we're looking for in these 4 categories. So I'm going to just briefly talk about each of those different categories and what we're looking for essentially for those categories. So the applicant team capacity and qualifications, this is 35% of the total score. And we'll be looking at your technical proposal. We'll be looking at the high-level information about your project team, who is going to be assigned to your project? What are their roles? Do they have the experience and qualifications necessary to deliver the tasks that you're assigning to them? And then we'll want to see a narrative of the experience and knowledge of your applicant team. Do you have experience delivering grants of this size? Have you worked with and recruited from target populations? Have you delivered training and support services? Can you connect participants to apprenticeship programs and contractors? Do you have those connections already in place? We'll also be looking at your staffing plan. As I described earlier, this is again a reiteration of the key staff that is going to be assigned and their roles. You'll have resumes and MOUs from the team partners. Just want to note that we expect to see alignment between these 2 pieces. So make sure your staffing plan and your technical proposal align with each other. Documentation of need will be 10% of your score. And in the technical proposal, you'll be describing to meet this requirement, you'll be describing the regions that you'll operate in and the specific locations for the training that you'll be providing. You'll be describing the equity eligible populations and communities in your region and their needs and barriers. We also want to see the clean energy employment needs and apprenticeship availability in your area and the expected impact of the project on the target populations and communities. 35% of your applicant score will be on project quality and integration, and this is really where you're telling me you're telling us what you're going to deliver for your program. For the technical proposal, you're going to be developing a project plan that essentially explains how you're going to design and deliver the program. You'll be listing some of your program's goals and outcomes. You'll be describing the curriculum that you'll be offering and the work-based learning that you're proposing. You'll be listing the credentials and certifications that you'll be offering, the student support services and wraparound support services that you'll be offering. You'll be describing strategies for inclusive outreach and recruitment and for transitions into the apprenticeship program. You'll describe your coordination efforts, how you're going to facilitate an equity-focused program design and culture, and track program outcomes and assess your programs. So in addition to developing that narrative in your technical proposal that describes essentially your program delivery, your design and delivery, you'll also be completing a few of the attachments that I described, including the work plan, the outcome summary, your curriculum, and then MOUs from registered apprenticeship programs. Again, we want to see that you have those relationships in place to help your participants transition into apprenticeship programs. And then finally, the fourth overall criteria for this proposal is cost effectiveness. And we'll be looking at your technical proposal, your budget narrative, and your budget template. So we'll be looking at personnel costs, travel equipment and supplies, contractual services, training and education costs, admin costs, and then your technical proposal will provide a budget narrative that basically explains, that justifies the main budget item expenses. We want to see an analysis of the cost effectiveness in relationship to the planned outcomes, such as the cost per eligible participant. We want to see an analysis of cost efficiency in relationship to the proposed activities. And we especially want to see a budget narrative for the energy transition barrier reduction funds and services. You can also describe how your program will leverage existing programs, services, and partnerships to improve cost effectiveness. And again, make sure that your budget narrative and your budget template align. So what happens after you submit your proposal? What does the merit-based review process look like? Well, we'll start with DCEO will designate an evaluation committee to score applicants on the criteria listed above. We'll divide them by the different regions for the 3 regional centers. Each member of the evaluation committee will score the application separately, and then we'll determine a final applicant score, which will be an average of all of the committee members' individual scores. The process is subject to appeal, and the notice of state awards are expected to be released 11 to 15 weeks after the application period has closed. I'm returning to this slide after describing the application process to encourage you to attend more of our technical assistance sessions. And if you are considering applying for a different notice of funding opportunity for a different program, we will be holding additional sessions for those specific programs. The one coming right up on May 3rd will cover how to write an effective proposal. We'll go over the proposal itself in more detail and provide helpful tips for the sections that you need to include and some of the things that you should consider. GATA training. Again, if you have not registered through the GATA portal, I'd encourage you to attend this to learn a little bit more about that process. May 9th will be that technical assistance workshop where we'll be offering a little more in-depth support for first-time applicants, for newer applicants. And then your proposals are due on June the 2nd. The question submission deadline here is listed as May 5th, but we've moved that to May 12th to give you a little bit more time to ask questions, and we will post responses on the NOFO website. And again, I would strongly encourage you to submit that notice of intent to apply. It's not hard. It doesn't commit you to applying, but it does help us help the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity to determine how many applications we'll be receiving to prepare for that merit review process. All right. So if you are a new or first-time applicant, I mentioned this special technical assistant workshop for new applicants. In addition to that workshop, we'll be holding some virtual office hours, and the link will be provided on the NOFO website. And again, this is specifically for new or first-time applicants. That will be held Tuesday, May 16th and Tuesday, May 23rd. And we'll be offering some limited document review as well for new or first-time applicants. And more details will be provided by email and will be on the NOFO website within the next week. So just a quick summary of what I've covered today. What is the pre-apprenticeship program? The ClimateWorks pre-apprenticeship program, the main goal is to equitably grow the construction and building trades and the clean energy jobs therein. The goal of the program is to prepare people to succeed in apprenticeship programs. This is part of an interconnected ecosystem of clean energy workforce programs that's established by CEJA. It supports state workforce development goals and initiatives. And if you are interested in applying, please go to the NOFO website. There's information about the program requirements, about eligibility, about submission information on that website. And finally, if you have a question, I see 74 different chat responses. I'm excited to read through all of the chat after this presentation, but I'd also strongly encourage you to submit questions here. It's linked on the NOFO page, and we can put that in the chat again. We'll be posting responses to those questions on that website, and we'll send out information as well to people who have attended this session. We are recording this session again, and we'll be sharing the slides on the website. So if you would like to review them, wait a couple days and they'll be available to share and to review. And I just want to thank you for attending again. We're overwhelmed by the enormous response and interest in these CEJA workforce programs. We hope to see many of you apply, and we hope to see many of you attend our upcoming technical assistance sessions. Thank you.